Hi everybody, we're live. And welcome everyone. Welcome to this new live interview. I'm Ilaria from Yakifa, and I must say that I am delighted to have with me today a very special guest, a digital marketing guru and Instagram advertising sensei, Mana Ionescu, president of Lifespan Digital and Chicago Woman Making History, outstanding entrepreneur award winner. Hi Mana, how are you today?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to do this.
Welcome again. For anyone who wants to know a bit more about Mana, she's been dubbed a marketing scientist for her focus on analytics-driven marketing, busting of digital marketing myths, and bringing out the sexy in a range of brands. Mana has been asked to speak over 100 times in the past 3 years at events at the Kellogg Executive Education Faculty and at a large national conference from Tech Week, right? To SES, from Social Media Week to MI TechCon, from Social Media Strategy Summit to Marketing Proof University and PubCon. Today, we're lucky to have her to ourselves to talk about ultimate e-commerce hacks for Instagram ads. But before we dive into everything, would you like to tell us a bit more about how you got started and what is exactly your, let's say, vision for digital marketing?
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up in Romania, and then I moved to Bulgaria, and then I moved to the US to go to grad school. And I was fascinated with studying how we tell stories of war and storytelling in general. And that was my specialty, my area of interest, what I did my thesis in. And but that doesn't really translate into a job profile, into a profession very well. So from there, I got a job in marketing, and I was originally a marketing analyst. So a lot of data, a lot of trying to understand customers, and from there, I progressed to digital marketing at HSBC. Those of you from Europe or other parts of the world, it's not as well known in the US, but in other parts of the world, you know what HSBC is. But banks are very conservative. So social media was on the rise. Blogging was on the rise. YouTubing was on the rise. Yet the banks were very conservative and very tentative about entering those spaces, and I wanted to do more. So I quit my corporate job and I started Lightspan Digital. It's been 11 years now. And at first it was just a social media agency, and as social media changed and the importance of original content came to the forefront, we transitioned into offering the whole range of digital marketing services. And now, and especially during the past year, what I call the year of COVID, we're in month 16 of the year of COVID. There's been a lot of focus. There's been a lot of focus and interest from brands, more interest in social advertising, ways to gain customers and drive sales from Instagram, as well as a renewal of Pinterest and LinkedIn. Pinterest has very interesting shopping features as well. In some ways, I would say a little better than Instagram does. And actually, they've just announced some changes. So we've done a lot of work both in the B2B space as well in the e-commerce space. We love helping brands with a mission. And my focus is when I meet somebody who's bold, or has a bold brand, that's our sweet spot. I love to deliver bold solutions to bold brands.
That's awesome. And that sounds like a kind of real breath of fresh air for the digital marketing in particular, for its world. And I can't wait to hear more about you and how your team apply this sort of views to also your Instagram advertising, as we discussed your ultimate e-commerce hacks for Instagram ads. But before we start, I just want to remind everyone watching that you can write your questions in the comment section below. And if you have any questions for Mana, to address, just write them down, and we will try to reply to all of them by the end of this interview. Sorry. And for those lucky enough to stay with us until the end, there will be a double treat as we have an additional surprise. That's right, not one, but 2 bonuses tonight. Mana will pick her 3 favorite questions from the live comments in the comment section below. And the authors will be awarded $50 credit on their Yakify wallet. So get writing right away. But that's not all. Mana has additional, like a bumper size lined up for you. Stay tuned to find out more. So let's just get started. Let's pump it in, Mana. Tell us where to start with our questions about Instagram advertising. We can start from perhaps the basics. So like for the creation of a post, let's say, what elements should be included in a good post? What can you give us? Can you give us please some treats to kind of create something that is visually compelling, some visually compelling content?
Yeah. Before we get into the posts themselves, I want to stress the fact that what we're seeing right now is that there's more value, more results coming from Instagram stories and reels. And so you may catch me talking a lot more about stories and reels because that's what we're seeing the best results. For some reason, people have shifted to watching those more because they're videos. They're a lot more engaging and entertaining than just a static post. So I recommend taking an approach where you create a story and then cut that to the size of an Instagram post, so a square template, and use it as an Instagram post. So basically starting with stories first in your content creation process. When you work with stories, it's better if they're animated. So a lot of times, whether it's an ad or just a story that we want to share with our audiences, we'll take a photo and maybe put some language on it and then post it as a story. A cool trick is to use animations to add stickers to it, little GIFs. For example, maybe your product line has a nature theme, so you can add in a little butterfly GIF. And that little bit of animation, makes your story a little stickier. It makes people
say it catches the eye.
It catches the eye, yeah.
All right.
So then if you center all of that within the story itself, within the frame of the story itself, if you center it in the middle, then you can download that and cut it into a square and also post it as a post to your feed. So that's a way to multi-purpose things. You also can download it and then go to the Facebook Ads Manager and create an ad, a promoted post with that same story frame that you used organically. So always think of how you can create content that applies to multiple feeds. You know, you create that story on Instagram. You can also put it as a story on Facebook and so on. So that's a place to start.
So just another related question is, what are the main elements for creating engagement? How can dropshippers increase engagement on their accounts?
So you should always have a call to action, whether it is having them ask a question, tag a friend, click to go to your profile to get something interesting there, throw a link on your profile. Content that usually says things like, if you know somebody who needs to see this, tag them in here, does really well. That's a way to drive quite a bit of engagement. Now, obviously, you have things like giveaways and collaborations with other brands. We do see a lot of value from collaborations with other brands that are complementary to yours. So creating gift baskets, for example, or a collection of products that go together, and running contests with those, and always making sure that the contest includes the encouragement to tag a friend, share with friends, and so on. So those are ways to generate engagement. Other ways to generate engagement have to do with being really strategic. A lot of times clients will say, will spend the time to really think through the visual elements of a post and what will grab people in, and even the lighting, the little details that you may put into a photo that really make it stand out from everything else, that make it tell a story. And clients will say, wow, I've never thought so strategically or in depth about one image. And yes, it takes a lot of time and thinking. And sometimes we need to bring a team together to say, how do we illustrate this concept? And then patiently put all of those elements together just for one photo or for one little video or for one little time lapse. But that's what it takes. The companies that are really successful on Instagram, they act like those Instagram influencers who have set up their little studios at home, and they have the rigs and the lights, and they really think through how to pull people in. We can't just slap a photo out there and expect that everybody's going to flock to it. It does require some thinking.
So I imagine it requires some testing as well.
Yeah. So one of the values of advertising, using the advertising options on Instagram and Facebook, is not just to try to get more sales. It's to actually try to identify the content that resonates the most. So Facebook advertising has an A/B testing feature, or even if you just invest $25 for a week or 25 euros for a week of testing ads, just to get a sense for what resonates most with people, and doing that on an ongoing basis, because trends change, how people engage when content changes. So we can never assume that if a year ago I identified this type of visual is working, we can't assume that it's still working. So I recommend, if you don't have big budgets to invest in advertising, at least use those advertising features to learn about your customers, with a small budget. Like I said, 25 euros, 30 euros, 50 euros a month, maybe. Use that to identify what even your audience is, who's most responsive, what creative resonates the most. Yeah.
Okay. And do you have any tips about hashtags, mentions, and how to use them, how to find the best ones?
Yeah. Hashtags it's a crazy thing. Everybody asks about hashtags, and it's really hard to find any studies or any data that tells us specifically how many to use, or is it, should we use fewer, should we use more?
Well, you can use up to 30, right?
You can use up to 30, but you can use a hack to plug in 60. You put 30 in your post and you put 30 in the comments. So put in a comment, your own comment to the post to add 30 more hashtags. Again, we have no evidence of that really increases the reach of your post. But again, you can test it. It's not going to harm you, but it can help you, right? And try to come up with hashtags that don't have millions of users, because your post is just going to get lost in that fast moving stream of content. Look for hashtags that have more, let's say 50,000 uses. I know that's very small, but it's still plenty of eyeballs watching that hashtag. Another trick to use is to go to influencers that your audiences follow. So you want a particular type of buyer in a particular industry, and there's influencers in that industry. And take a look at their followers and what hashtags they follow, because you can see that in their profile. So do a little bit of research and then use those hashtags in your content. Again, it takes a little bit more time, but this is what differentiates those who do really well versus those who are stuck on this hamster wheel and they can't figure out what's going to gain traction for them. It does require a little bit more work and a little bit more thinking, but the more you do it, the easier it gets.
So fingers crossed. What about the text? How important I apologize. How important is the text on a post on Instagram? Should we only write like a couple of lines or longer?
Great question. So when people scroll through the feed, they're only going to see probably the first sentence, so it gets all cut off. And also the text is below the photo. If you think pretty much all of the other social networks have the text above the photo. So the way people engaged on Instagram is visually first. So don't forget to put some text on your image too. It's not always, if it's a beautiful landscape, you do not want to ruin the photo with text on it. But if it's product-based or experience-based, or a story that you're trying to tell, it's helpful to add some text on the photo first. And then really think of what's going to catch people with the first question below that photo. Questions work very well. Things that drive FOMO. Sometimes catchy phrases. There was a study that showed that sentences that start with "don't do" negative phrases, so to speak, do much better than positive statements. So really think of what's going to catch them in that first sentence. Using the word "you" or "your," so referring directly to your audiences seems to do better than other ways of phrasing sentences. And then it appears that, and we're speculating here, we don't know. Although Instagram just last week posted on their blog, so you should check out their blog because they have a lot of updates. And also they have a channel called Shop on Instagram, where you can see a lot of tips from other brands on how to use Instagram to get more traction. So I want to encourage you to actually turn to Facebook and Instagram themselves, to their blogs, to their channels. Facebook has the business advice channel. There's some great videos there on, again, use cases from brands and on little tricks to use on Instagram, on Facebook. And so Instagram published some about their algorithm last week. Very interesting stuff about their algorithm, so you should check it out. And it appears that keeping people engaged with your content longer is an indicator to Instagram that your content is valuable. So, which explains why we've seen the rise of longer posts, almost like a mini blog post within the Instagram posts themselves. That keeps people reading a little bit longer, which indicates to Instagram that content is valuable. So it's going to push it further up into people's feeds.
Okay, so that's interesting. And what about product tags? Can you explain what they are and how to use them to kind of improve e-commerce sales?
Yeah. So first you need to be approved as a merchant within Instagram, within the Facebook. Actually, you go through the Facebook merchant platform. You can find the merchant center in your business settings, and through there you apply for your website and e-commerce store to be approved as a seller. And then you have a couple of options for how to bring in your product catalog into Facebook and Instagram. One option is, depending on what e-commerce site, e-commerce platform you use, such as Shopify or BigCommerce, one of those, you can pull in the feed. Those connect directly, and you can pull your product feed straight into the catalog on the Facebook Merchant Center, which also will connect to your Instagram. So technically now you're going to have the catalogs on Facebook and on Instagram.
So it's going to be like an Instagram shop sort of thing, right?
Yes. Then you can turn it into a shop. You don't have to. You can turn it into a shop or not. But importing that product catalog is really important. If you don't have one of these e-commerce platforms that Facebook already works with, you can manually set up your product listings. A lot of e-commerce shops maybe only have 8 products. So you can manually set them up. Or you can even use a Google Sheets to pull in your product catalog. So you have a few options there for how to do it. Obviously, it's the easiest if you use a commerce platform that is already partners with Facebook. And then from there, now I'm sorry?
I said it's probably quicker as well.
It's quicker. Some of those platforms are a bit more expensive. And that's why I said you don't have to set up a shop on Facebook, an actual storefront on Facebook, because if you're concerned, if your margins are very low, and if you're concerned about the expense of selling, the cost of selling your goods, it does get a little bit more expensive when you set up those stores, when you sell through Facebook itself or through Instagram itself. So you have the option of setting up your merchant account and selling directly from Instagram and Facebook, or setting up your merchant account and still sending them to your website to complete that transaction. Now, once you have that set up, you need to go into the Instagram settings and turn your account into a business account. You'll connect the shop in there, and now you'll have the ability to tag products into your photos or to place product stickers onto your Instagram stories.
Okay, that's interesting. Thank you very much for sharing. Can you please explain also to our public and to those who just joined us, what is exactly a shoppable feed, and how can we create it exactly? So it's more or less what you just said, right?
Yeah. So it's like having a store on Instagram. So I'm going to explain it from my perspective as a buyer.
Yes.
If you have set it up to have a store on Instagram, I should be able to go to your account, see your products, and check out straight through there. So my credit card sits with Facebook within the Facebook platform, which is Instagram is connected to. And whatever credit card I have there, it gives me the option to check out your product straight from there. And it'll go to you as an order through your store and through your fulfillment process, whatever you have already set up there. If you don't set up the store, but the product catalog is there, when I tap on that little tag, I will go to your website and I will buy the product on your website. So it'll be fulfilled as your website is set up for it to be fulfilled. So those are the differences. I believe Facebook charges a fee for you to sell directly through Facebook. So many of our clients have chosen the option where you go to the website to check out, where a user goes to the website to check out.
So like a landing page, right?
It'll go straight to the product on your website.
Okay.
So, so wherever, your product has a page, let's say, you can consider that a landing page. But when I tap on that product, it'll take me straight to that product on the website, and I can check out straight from there. Or I can go browse around.
That's fair enough.
It makes it so much easier for people to have a seamless, quick experience. So we know that the less friction there is in the buying process, the higher the conversion rate. So this allows you to shorten the steps, to shorten the process, to lower the number of steps that they have to go through to buy. So they see a photo, they click on the tag, go to your website, to the actual product page, and can check out. A lot easier than when they have to go to your website, search for that product.
Yeah, absolutely. Such a longer, let's say, funnel. Let's now turn a bit on the management of advertising, if we may. So what should an e-commerce owner consider? Why should an e-commerce owner consider Instagram ads instead of, like, for example, other sort of ads?
So I will tell you what the data is telling us, because we run a lot of campaigns, and the data is pointing to the fact that we have lower reach on Instagram. There's not as many users as on Facebook, but the conversion rates are much higher. So ultimately, you're getting better bang for your buck. You're selling more at a lower cost. Also, the fact that the conversion rate is higher, it's telling us that there's a higher engagement there as well. And we also see that those customers return to you more. So the lifetime value of the customer increases. Instagram stories sell the best through ads. Not surprising, because we know that people spend more time when they're on Instagram, they spend more time looking at stories than looking at their feed.
Yeah.
Instagram has told us in one of their blog posts that only about 50%, so half of your followers, may see your posts, but that number is much higher for stories. So we see more sales through Instagram stories, higher conversion rates. So it absolutely makes sense to be there. Now, the reach is not as high. So overall, the volume of sales may be lower on Instagram than on Facebook. But when it comes to your investment, you get more value, much more value from Instagram.
Yeah, because I think this, let's call them sponsor stories, come in between like your friends' stories. Is that correct? So that's the way I saw them all the time.
Yeah, they do. And if you design them well, that where it looks like a person's story,
yeah,
you're going to get a lot more engagement. And so, and I think Svetlana is asking, do you divide the campaigns on Facebook and on Instagram, or you run the same post on multiple placements with Instagram and Facebook together? This is a very good question, because if you want good results from Instagram, you want that ad to be designed for stories specifically, right? Okay. So that it looks natural to that, to how we browse through the Instagram stories. So ideally, you would design them separately. But remember earlier, I said a trick to use is to start by designing your ad on Instagram stories, then download it, crop it for the different medium or media, and then go to the Facebook Ads Center and use the differently cropped creatives for each of the placements that you may have. So the Instagram stories one with the Facebook stories one, those can be the same ad. But frequently we will design, for example, a carousel ad. A carousel ad in stories would show up as three different images back to back. So if somebody is watching your feed, they'll tap on the first image or mini video, they'll go to the second one, they'll go to the third one. If we have just one image, when they tap, they're going to go to the next friend story. So by having a series of images within the same ad, we increase the chance they'll stay on our ad longer. And at a minimum,
because they have to keep on tapping, right?
Yeah, right. So they'll basically see 3 of your ads in a sequence, and increases, at a minimum, it increases brand recall. But the longer they're on the ads, the higher the chance they'll tap over to your product or to buy, or even to your profile to see more of what you're all about.
Yeah, exactly. I have done that sometimes. In fact, I get a lot of ads. Like it's every 2 stories from my friend, I see an ad, or even one friend story and then an ad. So some of them are very engaging, you're right. And absolutely, they use like a sort of animation stuff and all this, like, as you said before, butterflies or other add-ons. That's very interesting. Yeah. I actually never thought of it. Wow. Yeah. And what is like the main difference between Instagram ads and Facebook ads?
So Facebook, we think of them as Facebook ads, but actually Facebook has a lot of placements. It's not just stories and feed. The ads can be placed in line when you read a news article within Facebook itself. They can show up within the video feeds. They can show up on partner websites. So when you're in the ad manager in Facebook, it actually gives you the option. There's an option there. There's like an edit button that you can click as you design your ads, that gives you the option to see your ads on all of those placements. So technically, the Facebook placements have a lot more sizes and ways to display the content than just feed and stories. So it's good to look through all of them. Some of them are very tiny. You can barely, if your images are very, very detailed or very small, in some of those placements, you can't really see anything in how the image is being displayed. So it's really important that you do a check there, or you can uncheck those. If you don't want your ad to show up on partner sites or within the news feed, you can uncheck those. So on Instagram, there's really only 2 and now a third placement. So you have the stories, you have the feed, and Instagram is now testing Instagram Reel ads in Reels. Wow. But it hasn't been rolled out to everybody. So most people right now, we haven't yet seen it with a client account, but real ads are coming.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that we should get, let's say, the ad set up on Instagram. So do you think it's better to kind of get it done in Instagram or to use like the business manager, as you mentioned before? What is your personal opinion about this?
Well, all ads get built through the Facebook ad manager. All ads do. We like to create them in the Instagram story in the app itself, because that's where we have the option to add like the stickers, the butterflies, the GIFs to it, to make them a little bit more fun and engaging. Then we download them and can use them everywhere. So we're basically using the stories feature on Instagram as an editing app. And in fact, there's a lot of editing apps that you can use, and I want to encourage you to use it. Like InShot is one that people use for editing video.
Okay.
You can edit video in Reels and then use it on your feed and so on. So we basically use those features to create content as if it was an editing app, and then we save it, and maybe we'll put it in another app on our phone to edit it some more, or you can even transfer it to your computer and use professional editing tools if you wanted to edit it some more, especially with videos, if you want transitions and things like that, and then upload it and use it in the ads center.
That's interesting. I'm sorry, it was my mistake. I meant campaigns, not ads, but you explained everything, I guess. Is it important to upload the store catalog to Business Manager? And if it is, why?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think if you're an e-commerce website, you absolutely should.
Most of our clients are dropshippers, so yes, they do own e-commerce.
Yeah, people. I would say the way we use social networks now is that, and the social networks are designed to keep us in the app. And the way we use social networks is we spend time on social networks more than anywhere else. I'm not going to go to an e-commerce website to be entertained, to spend time on it. If I'm a fan of an e-commerce site, if I have a particular need, I'll go there. The rest of my time is spent online. It's probably spent on social networks and playing games.
Absolutely. That's what we all do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, even for video and podcasts, we might use YouTube even as a podcast channel. So we spend a lot of time there. So if you want to be found, you need to be there, and then give them the shortest possible path to checking out, to buying that product. So if you're in e-commerce, you absolutely should set up your products, a product feed within the Merchant Center, within Facebook. And then, like I said, you have the option to set up a store, or you have the option to use it as a tagging means to drive people from a product tag on Instagram, from a post straight to your website.
All right. And what about like the goal of a campaign? Can you give us some tips? What should we choose?
The what? Sorry, I couldn't hear first. I got disconnected.
Sorry. I mean, how do we select the goal of a campaign, of an ad campaign? Can you share some tips in that regards, please?
Awesome question. And before I get into that, I want to tell Simo that I saw your question, how to find influencers, and I will get to it. We're
gonna just all process them after our questions. So don't worry. Thank you.
But I don't want him to leave. Please don't leave.
I'm not gonna leave. Simo, please stay with us.
Yes.
We're gonna answer.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have bonuses if you're good enough.
Yeah.
If you have good questions.
So for the for how to choose goals, this is a very good question, because if we just had two goals in there, it would be a lot easier to pick one of the two. But you go into the ads manager to set up your campaign, and it's like, boom, 6, 7, 8, 10, depending on where you start, which option you start, whether it's reach or conversions, you all of a sudden get all these other options. When you first
start, a bit overwhelming, I guess.
Yeah. When you first start, you have a couple of options, and we hear this from our clients all the time. Our existing customers' sales are going gangbusters. They're looking great. Our existing customers are loyal and they keep coming back, but we're not getting enough new customers. So if that is the problem you're facing, start with a reach goal. And I like it to be traffic to a landing page. So I think one element we forgot is to not just set up your store with Facebook ads, but also set up pixels within your website so that Facebook can track some of the activity. Now, since the iOS changed the privacy requirements, so since Apple changed privacy requirements on apps, not as much data can be tracked through Facebook pixels, but still it's good to have that set up. So at least you can track landing page hits. So if you want more customers, choose a reach goal with a traffic to the website goal so that you reach new people. If your goal is to drive sales, you see a good enough volume of people visiting you, going to your website, but you want more sales, choose the sales objective, the conversions objective. Or you may want to just test out a conversion objective just to start with. If the time from the first purchase or the time from when they first come to your website and when they buy is really lengthy. So we have a client right now that's in the food space. What we've noticed is that it can take up to 20 days from the first visit to the website until somebody buys something. Because when they come to the website, they may not need that sausage that we're promoting. But a week later, they're like, oh, I'm ready to buy my groceries. I want that sausage. So it takes some time. Yeah, it takes some time. And the reason why I'm using the sausage example is because there's this Bulgarian store in Chicago that keeps showing me these sausages that I remember from my time in Bulgaria.
You make me hungry now.
And I'm dying to.
I'm on a diet.
Yeah, so
please tell me about this.
Yeah, that's why I'm delaying buying those sausages, right? So there's a delay there from when I first see the ad or go to a website to when I'm going to buy. If you see that happening, then you may want more engagement ads at first, or you want to do remarketing. So again, that pixel is going to come useful to you where you can retarget the people who have visited your website but haven't bought to try to reduce that time from when they first engage with you to when they start buying from you.
So as I understand it, in your opinion, it's better to choose like traffic on website than purchase, for example, because I know that many choose just purchase as an objective, correct?
Yeah. So here's what's going to happen if you start with purchase as an objective and your budget is very small. The way the Facebook pixel works is that it learns if we set the goal as purchases, as conversions, the Facebook pixel only learns based on the people who buy from you. And so because the budget is small, there's only going to be a handful of buys. And so Facebook can't learn because there's not enough people who have bought for Facebook to learn and optimize the ads. So show the ads in a more relevant way to people who would be more interested in seeing them. Because Facebook knows a lot about us.
Yeah, so, definitely does.
Right. So when we start small, in many cases, it's better to have a reach or a traffic goal because then Facebook is going to learn faster and optimize the ads faster. So you're going to get traffic to the website in more effective of a way. If you have a website, and you should strive to have a website that converts well, that has a high conversion rate, higher than 1%. 1% is actually fairly low. We want to push that conversion rate to, let's say, 5% or more. If you have a website that converts well, then the traffic you push to the website will convert well. Ideally. So we can start, we can start with the traffic goal there. If you have, for example, there's other examples in which it's good to use a a sales, a conversion goal. If you have products that are not very expensive, again, where people check out fairly fast to try your products, it makes sense to have a conversion goal.
Okay.
You know, you really have to think about, what do you need the most right now? Is it traffic, or is it people who are going to buy?
And what about the audience? How can you select like a public for the ad set? Can you like advise us what is the best way to kind of decide who to choose?
Yeah, so it depends on a number of factors. One is, are you a local business? Or in most e-commerce cases, the business is not local, but you have some geographies that you're going after. Maybe you only sell in your country. Now, the US is a really big market. So in a really big market, we want to be a little bit more targeted. So in a big market, we use lookalike audiences. So we create a custom audience. So in the business manager, you have an option for audiences. So you can upload your customer list and then create a custom a lookalike audience based on your customer list. So Facebook, based on all the stalking that it does and knows about us, can look at those customers and say, oh, these customers behave very similarly. So that's our lookalike universe. And then you can advertise, you can select those lists. If you are in a smaller market, and you know, there's countries like New Zealand, there's only somewhere around 5-6 million people in New Zealand. So to reach a wider audience, your lookalike audience may be too small. In which case, you want to start broader with gender, possibly. I think that I'm not a fan of using that right off the bat, because we are always surprised. There's this idea that men don't buy things. I don't know why. Some brands are like, our customers are female. And I'm like, well, have you tested it? Let's test it and figure out. And in some cases, we find out that even if only 20% of their buyers are male, they buy more. And so
they're still buyers.
Yeah, and we get better results for our cost investment. So so you have the gender options. You have some other demographic options. You have likes. So interest-based universes that you can tap into.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can even narrow it down to a specific brand if the brand is big enough. That it has a lot of chatter and a lot of followers on Facebook and Instagram. One of your options may even be the name of that brand.
Yes, that's right.
So you have quite a few options there. I like to start wide, see what we learn, and then refine it as we go. Again, if you start to narrow and you put too many requirements as to who may be able to see your ads, what happens is that your universe is too small and those ads are not going to exit learning mode fast enough. So Facebook won't know the ideal people to show it to because it hasn't learned yet. So start broader, and as you learn, you can narrow it. And as your budget grows bigger, you can narrow it a bit more.
And you say start big. So I guess the ideal number would be like a few million people.
Yeah,
with that interest.
Yeah. We have a situation right now. The Chicagoland area has about 9 million people. The city itself, without the suburbs, it's a lot of people. And the city itself has about 6 million people. We have a customer that is a local business that sells food stuff, not Bulgarian sausage.
So okay.
Yeah. So when we created the lookalike audience, it only gave us about 1 million people. Now everybody needs to eat. So we looked at it and we said, okay, let's just go broader and select all adults after the age of, let's say 25 and up, because everybody needs to eat. And this is not a store where the products are that expensive where we need to limit it to specific income groups, or, it's not a product set where we want higher educated adults, right? Everybody needs food. And during the 15 months of the COVID year, we bought a lot of food online, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So in that case, we made the mistake of starting a little narrower, and we realized we're not reaching enough people. So let's open it up to more people.
All right. Sorry. I was just reading some of the incoming questions that we've got. Let's go with my next question, if I may. So what is the best placement for Instagram, in your opinion? You said that do you use like IG placement or Facebook placement in the same ads, or do you kind of get them separated? You do them differently?
So organic placement for Instagram right now, the best placement is Reels. Paid placements are stories.
Okay. Yeah. Because I did actually, in fact, notice that lately Instagram has started showing me like Reels that have like a very low number of likes, like in between those with a very high one, like 300,000 and plus. And then I get like the next story that is like 30 likes. And I'm like, how did I get here? That's interesting. It must be the algorithm changes again, right?
Yeah. So last week, as I said, Instagram published some information about their algorithm. What I found really interesting about the algorithm when it comes to Reels is that what they're disclosing is that they're polling people to find out what type of content is funny or entertaining to them. And then based on that, they're trying to identify funny, entertaining comment. On Reels, they're going to show you more comment from accounts that you don't usually engage with. And they're using the music or the soundtrack of the Reels as a proxy as to whether or not people want to create their own content using that soundtrack. So to create a viral effect using a piece of content to create more pieces of content, which is incredibly interesting. The algorithms have not looked at soundtrack before on Instagram, Facebook, and so on. This is very new, and it's prompting us to behave differently. It's prompting us to create content that's already being viral based on a soundtrack. It's prompting us to create our own sound template that could lead to some virality. So, the sound template being, what's your favorite thing to put it on the screen? And then another person can take that soundtrack and make their own video with their favorite thing, but the soundtrack still says what's your favorite thing to put it on the screen.
So it's like some sort of challenge.
Yeah.
Like I have seen some videos like film your cat while he's listening to this sound. I saw a lot of those kind of videos. It was so entertaining. Like there was one that said, make your cat listen to this one, and if he is willing to protect you, he'll come running. That was so sweet.
Yeah.
Amazing. So can we just speak a little bit about influencer marketing now? As many already know, now Instagram is kind of the place of influencer marketing. In the past, there have been some great examples of successful influencer marketing again. And like some examples can be like Coco Care, and that it sent its product to a lot of small influencers and asked them to kind of post a picture with them with the product in there. So the question is, sorry, it's a bit of a long introduction. How does one find good influencers for their business?
Yeah, it's a great question. I am a huge believer in, and if you wait until the end, you'll get the chance to learn more about this. But I'm a huge believer that we need to start with defining our goals, because different channels work for different goals. If my goal is traffic to the website, then I need to work with podcasters, bloggers, and so on. Instagram may not be the first place I look. because Instagram campaigns don't necessarily, because of how it's designed, you can only place links in them. So they're not going to drive traffic to your website. So you really need to figure out your goals. If it's to reach a specific audience that these influencers impact, to get more sales, you need to work with different types of influencers on Instagram. And the way to find them, there's companies out there that promise you that they'll sell you lists and things like that. That's one way to go about it. I prefer the manual method where you really vet the influencers. So using the search feature on Instagram, find people who have, let's say, 10,000 or more followers. Those are micro influencers. And what we've seen is that micro influencers drive much better results than big influencers. Look at hashtags and see, because when you search for a hashtag, it'll give you the top content. So a hashtag associated with your business, what content around that hashtag gets a lot of views, and who are the people behind that content, and could they be a good match for you? And then if you find, for example, an influencer, look at their followers and see who else do they follow, who influences them. It takes a little bit of work, but the worst thing you can do is to just go by influencer account size. Oh, because somebody has 1 million followers, they must be a good influencer for you. We've worked with companies that came to us because they had done that. They paid a lot of money to work with a big influencer and got nothing in return. Even worse, that influencer deleted the post a day later.
Oh, wow.
Because they were working with so many brands that they didn't want their entire feed to be just products. So they would post something, leave it up for 24 hours or so, and then delete it. So look for smaller influencers. Look at how they promote other brands. Make sure that they're not just promoting brands over and over again, that they also have some original content in there. But see how creative they are. And do they tell stories with other products? Or do they just slap the product there and hope that that will sell?
So it is my understanding from this that influencer marketing doesn't really have to be that expensive, because as you said, big influencers will ask you a lot more money.
Yeah,
is that correct?
Smaller influencers may even work just for a product.
So the free product, right?
Yeah, you can send them product, and a lot of times they'll include it in their content. Influencers on Instagram are really motivated by content ideas. They have to produce engaging content on an ongoing basis. That's a lot of pressure. And so they are actually grateful when they have a prompt, when they have an idea about something. So a thing you can do too is collaborate with them. Not just send them the product and expect them to come up with a great idea, but also giving them some ideas for how they can incorporate it into a story.
Like wear it or show it this way.
Yeah.
Like those sort of advices. All right.
Yeah. But don't stage it for them. I'm very much against this. We've talked to brands who want to control the narrative. People can tell when something is not genuine. They are following an influencer because they are loyal to that person. They love their content. They feel like they're learning from them. They're being entertained by them. If you are to force a narrative and design a photo shoot around your product with this influencer, instead of letting them tell the story and incorporate the product in their life and in their story, their audiences are going to be able to tell. It's going to look different. The voice and tone is going to be different. So don't try to force influencers to present your product in a very specific way.
Okay. And
another thing with influencers, with small influencers too, is to create a relationship that's long-term. So don't just think of it as a one-off. Oh, I gave them this product. They wrote about me. They posted content about me. And now I'm done. I'm moving on to another influencer. Remember that only a fraction of their followers are going to see your content, their content that incorporates your product. So think of ways of working with them over a longer period of time to produce different content that more people may be able to see.
That's interesting. So Do you use like branded content posts?
Yeah, yeah.
How does it work?
It's important that you disclose, or that the influencers disclose that that is branded content, and Facebook and Instagram give the option for them to do so. If they don't do it, at a minimum, somewhere at the end of the post, they should say that this is sponsored content or this is advertising. In the US, there's laws that where the FDA can slap you on the wrist if you don't disclose that something is an ad. So I don't know the laws in every country, but to be safe, it's good to disclose that.
Okay.
And one other interesting thing about influencers is that Instagram is launching a feature where influencers can tag your product in their posts and for a fee. So a percentage of the sale, kind of like an affiliate program. So that's coming.
All right.
It's not
Okay.
live yet, but that's something that's coming to Instagram shopping.
Oh, there are a lot of kind of options. That's good.
Yeah.
The more to choose from. So, and what are like the typical pitfalls of this kind of, let's say, influencer strategy? How can we avoid these problems, if there are any?
Yeah.
Like apart from the influencer that kind of deletes your post after 24 hours, we don't want to come across those kind of influencers. So I guess we have to choose them carefully.
Yeah. Yeah. Working with influencers who are genuine and whose audiences are really engaged with them, we like to create our own scoring system where we divide the number of followers by the number of engagement. Sorry, we divide the number of engagement by the number of followers, or however you want to do the math. You want higher engagement rate. So if a post has 300 likes or more, and this person has 10,000 followers, that's a pretty good engagement rate. And then we see influencers, so to speak, who have 10,000 followers but 20 engagements per post.
Yeah.
I think
is it about the
account is that,
or is it about like the comments? Because I know that there are like some tools that calculate kind of the engagement rate. So what should our clients, for example, be focused on? The number of likes or the comment, which I mean, it sounds to me like it's more kind of engagement. It takes more time to kind of write it instead of just double tap it.
Yes, there are tools that allow you to measure that. There's a blog post on our website where we actually list a lot of Instagram hacks, including ways to measure that engagement. We usually add up likes and comments as one measurement. Okay. The other thing to look at is, are the comments genuine and engaging? Some people do pay for likes and comments. So
yeah, we had those stories.
Yeah, so you want to avoid accounts that do that. Again, not having an engagement type that matches your goals is another pitfall. So if you want new customers, then you need to come up with an engagement with the influencers where maybe they give out a discount code or there's a contest for them to give out the product, and so on. Or when this new feature comes out where they can tag the product in their own post using that. If you just want to increase your reach, or a lot of times a very valuable way to go about it is to increase your email list. So you want them to sign up for your newsletter or to sign up to get a small discount, then the engagement, the arrangement that you have with the influencer should be around that. Just doing something where you don't know how you're going to measure results is going to put you in a position where you will, at the end of the engagement, sit there and be like, I don't know what I got for this. I have no idea if this worked or not.
Yeah, that's bad. I just have like another couple of questions, and I think you partly answered some of them. So you did talk about like the important changes coming up with Instagram this year. So there's going to be Reels, ads for Reels, and what else?
There's going to be affiliate options, so where people can tag your product and then get a percentage of that sale.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Reels is a good. What do you think about Reels? Is it a good way to kind of? We're talking about ads for Reels. Ads for Reels. I don't think it
Yes.
sounds right. So
Yes.
will it be, in your opinion, a good way to kind of get more engagement and get potentially more sales, or we still have to wait and see?
Absolutely, yes. I'm looking forward to that, but it's gonna it presents a new challenge for us in that we're gonna have to figure out how to make funny, entertaining content that promotes our product, or at least useful or punchy. So it's a new way of designing video.
It's going to be interesting.
And it's going to be a challenge, yeah. But if you start designing and testing Reels video now, so organic content now, when that advertising feature is going to come about, you're going to be better prepared to plug some of that content into the advertising engine. So start now with organic content and then you'll be ready.
Awesome. You mean organic Reels?
Organic Reels, yeah.
All right. And what do you think is like the main advertising trend for on Instagram in 2021?
The main advertising trend is to make the stories and the advertising videos that look like a real person has created those. In many cases, you may not even realize for a couple of seconds. They pull you in, they captivate you, and you may not even realize for a couple of seconds that they're an ad. And by that point, you're caught in
already
it.
Engaged.
Yeah, you're already engaged. And then, that's what we're seeing as a trend right now. I feel like a lot of marketers, social media marketers, are turning into the evolution of the marketing agency or the marketing expert is to actually also turn into a video expert, a video production expert. Marketing has always challenged experts to evolve into the new generation, and now I feel like we're challenged to be visual storytellers. So whether you do it for yourself as a small business or you're hiring somebody, it becomes more and more important that we learn how to use these visual tools and create video.
All right. Well, that was my last question. And thank you very much for replying to all of them. We're now going to move to the Q&A section. And before we before we read our questions, you still have time to give us some more questions if you want them answered by Mana now. And at the end of this, we're going to give some bonuses. So there are going to be some bonuses from Yakify and also from Mana. So let's start with the first question. I think you partly replied to it already. So no, let's start from Simo. Hopefully Simo is still watching us. I'm sure he is. How do you find influencers? Do you have some tool to find them, or do you just do it like manually, I guess?
So yeah, manually, there's tools out there that help you find influencers. I mentioned how you can look at hashtags to see whose content rises to the top. Another thing I forgot to mention is that influencers a lot of times partner with other influencers. So you can find other influencers to influencers through their partnership for content and so on.
That's interesting. I never thought about it. But now that you kind of pointed out, it's like obvious. I should have thought about it. That's interesting. No, because I saw like a lot of, I saw like a lot of influencers with related sort of view. So like pilots with pilots and stuff like that. So that's how they partner, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, there's so much stuff that happens on Instagram or in social networks where we don't even think. We watch it, we think it's cool, but we don't really think through what was the thought process here, or how did this come about? What's actually happening here, and how can I use it for my business? So sometimes I like to put my researcher hat on when I look at Instagram, and then I have like these epiphanies are, oh, that's what these guys are doing here.
I should think about that way as well. Some more. So the next question is from Svetlana. First degree connection, first helping dropshippers in automatization of all the fulfillment process. Do you divide campaigns on Facebook and IG? No, I think we kind of replied to this one already. Do you divide campaigns on Facebook and on IG, or do you run the same post on multiple placements on Instagram and Facebook together?
Yes. I answered that question, but yes, you split them up. I recommend, especially for stories, to create its own creative. And if you start with stories, you design the creative on stories, and then if you center things in the middle, you can crop. And out of a story creative, you can also have a post creative. So created in stories, downloaded, edited, and then use it for ads.
Okay, lovely. So Muhammad Zafar asks us, how many hashtags can we use in a post? Is there any standard for it?
Yeah.
So like a standard number, I guess.
Yeah, the limit is 30 in the post, and the hack we use is, if we want to use more, to put another 30 in the comments. So that gives us 60 to work with. However, people are a little sensitive to when we try too hard. It doesn't look good when we try too hard. So having too many hashtags actually doesn't look good on you. I would, I would use somewhere around 5, maybe 10 max, and really research the hashtags well. There's a tool called Hashtagify. We all like things that end in "fi." There's a tool called Hashtagify. Yeah. That helps you also do research. Yeah.
That's good. So Sandra asks a question which we pretty much covered, but if we can just summarize it again. Mm-hmm. Do you use Reels? It seems that one can promote Reels. Do you think it will be possible in the future? So it's one of the new kind of.
Yeah, it's one of the new features that Instagram said they will launch, and it's already available to some companies, not everyone.
So it's like beta testers or something like that.
I'm sorry?
Is it like for beta testers to see how it goes?
Yeah, and Instagram likes to launch things in different countries, tests in different countries.
Yeah, I did notice that.
Yeah, so that's why I'm recommending watching their blog, because they'll announce what countries those features are available, and it may turn out to be your country. A lot of times the US is not the first to get those features.
Yeah, I saw sometimes India gets a lot of kind of testing phase. That's interesting.
Yeah, Canada gets a lot of testing phase. Yes, that was my cat. She woke up. She's been asleep this whole time. Asleep on the job.
Oh, lovely. Lovely. Must be so sweet. Mark asks us, should we target a campaign to click or likes? We're talking about Instagram, I guess.
So it depends on your goal. If you're looking to expand your audience, and if you're testing something, it's good to use clicks. That way Facebook learns a little bit faster. Likes is not, it was the question clicks or likes, or clicks or conversions?
Clicks or likes.
I would say clicks. Yeah.
Okay. That way kind of the algorithm learns better.
And a click is a lot more valuable. Clicks are very valuable because it indicates that they're interested enough that they want to go to the website to see what that is all about.
That's good. Another question from Muhammad is, can a schedule post directly on Instagram?
No. Okay. No. But you can use a tool like Later. And Later has a lot of interesting features. You can, and if you have a business account, you have the option through Later to schedule for Later and for it to post without you having to manually do it. In the past, you get a notification, you have to go in there and manually post it. If you have a business account through Later, you can just automatically schedule and post.
Oh, that's good. A new feature, that's good. So I'm sorry if I mispronounce this name. Oisin, bank official at EBS in Lucan. For someone who's trying to get into a job in this industry, what would you recommend somebody, or what course would you recommend to do?
Good question.
Is this one of the winning questions?
Maybe.
Maybe.
So
we're gonna tell at the end.
I think that every social network has a learning center. So Facebook has a lot of courses. LinkedIn has a lot of courses. There are learning centers in all of them. And I would start with those courses. Another great place to quite affordably take courses and be able to tell how others have evaluated those courses is Udemy, Udemy. And then there's news sites where you can learn what's new, like Social Media Examiner. I'm a fan of reading, like I said, the blogs of the social networks themselves. They also have, Facebook has a video series where you can see case studies where they actively help the businesses with marketing, and you can learn from those as well. It's also great to have mentors. And like I said, when it comes to skills, the two that are in high demand right now are analytics skills and video skills, content production skills.
That's good. Obviously, if you have to kind of create engagement content, it's useful to know the tools you're using. So the last question from our public is from an audience. Yes. Sorry. Balanced Life asks, what's the best tool for Instagram ads?
So just the Facebook Ads Manager itself it's honestly, it's the easiest to use. You can, the one on the phone is a little bit even easier. Oh, here she is, the kitty cat.
That's so cute.
So yeah, start with those. If you use the Facebook app on your phone, it's a little bit even easier. They're really designed for small businesses to use them. If you want to use like an external tool, Ad Espresso is one that has really good features. And again, it's fairly easy to use. So like the coffee drink, Ad Espresso. Okay,
understood. So thank you very much. I think the Q&A question is over for now. And can you please tell us a bit more of the bonus that you're offering our clients who kind of stayed with us until now, and how they can get it?
Yeah, so we've written an ebook for Instagram influencer marketing. So a lot of the things that I talked about are in there, as well as a bunch of cheat sheets. We're showing tables for how to keep track of your influencers and results, and cheat sheets for how to evaluate an influencer, information on how to find them. And so you have a promo code here to get $50 off. It's Yaki50. But I will tell you even an extra bonus. If you want to find a shortened free version of that, it's also on our website, lightspandigital.com. It's lightspandigital.com. You should be able to find all of these resources there. We have a ton of other free resources for other cheat sheets for other social networks as well.
That's awesome. And keep in mind that Yakify is also going to offer a bonus, a special gift to our community. So if you guys at home register at Yakify on Yakify today using this link you see here, you will get 60 free product quotations instead of 30 for the first month after registration. That's double the usual that you get, and it's just for today's public. So let's talk about business now, Mana. So what are your favorite free questions? Remember that the winner is going to be, guys at home, remember that the winner is going to be contacted via messages. So keep your messages, kind of check them out, because we're going to contact you. Probably I will contact you via Messenger. So what are your favorite questions for today?
Oh, this is hard. I'm looking through the questions.
Okay, take your time.
I did like the one. I think 2 people asked about different creating different creatives for different placements.
Yeah.
I think both Yeah, 2 people asked about that. I can't quite see this right now who they were.
So I think one was Svetlana, and the other one was Mark, who asked, should we target a campaign to click or likes? Is that one of the questions?
No, I believe it was Sabit.
Oh, yeah.
Do we need to make different ad for different ad placement? They both asked that same question, Svetlana and Sabit.
Okay, perfect. Then these are 2. What about the third one?
I would say, Sandra, do you use Reels? It seems one can promote Reels.
All right.
Do you think that it will be possible in the future?
Yeah. Well, that is a very interesting feature that I just learned about. So that's awesome. Absolutely. I would like to thank you again for being with us. It was an absolute pleasure.
You.
And yes, definitely. We'll see you again hopefully soon.
There were a couple of other questions, but I'll answer those in the comments.
No, you can answer them now, of course.
Oh, there was one about Canva.
All right.
And yes, I love Canva for creating stories as well as posts. It's a great tool. In fact, Facebook itself recommends it as a tool to use to create content.
I use it sometimes as well. It's useful, very much.
Yeah.
And it gives me like a lot of ideas in terms of how to do something, because it's got some examples of I don't know, of posts, of videos, and that's very useful. Lots of stickers.
A couple of the commenters said that you need the brand's permission to tag and sell their products. So when the affiliate system will be in place on Instagram, yes, you won't just be able to tag a vendor's products without actually connecting to them through an affiliate program, through an affiliate system. We don't know what that system's going to look like yet because the feature is not available yet. But yes, absolutely, people won't just be able to tag your product and sell it without your permission.
Okay. Any other questions we've got?
Those are the ones that stood out to me. There may be others that I missed. I love that there were so many questions. So thank you very much, everybody, for asking them.
I think we answered all of them.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So anyway, I think we can. Oh, new contact. Maybe there's somebody else. Oh yeah, somebody sent you a LinkedIn request. Please accept.
Yeah, please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn.
I'll send you one as well. So
yeah.
I would like to thank you again for your time. It was absolutely enriching. Really, I have learned so much, and it's going to be very useful to me and also to our clients, especially because I kind of deal with the social media. So everything you said, it's very, very useful. Thank you very much for being with us, and we'll see you again soon. Bye, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye.